Dershowitz to discuss all this. He's defended President Trump in the first impeachment. He also has a new book, Cancel Culture, which I got. It's awesome. The latest attack on free speech due to process. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. This was a terrible week for our Constitution, but it's getting worse. It's getting worse because if you try to impeach a president based on a First Amendment protected speech, that would violate two provisions of the Constitution, the First Amendment and the criteria for impeachment. It would do more enduring harm to our Constitution than even the horrible rioters did, although they are strongly to be condemned, and I'm very glad they're being prosecuted to the hilt. It's part of the core theory of the First Amendment that you prosecute the actors, you don't prosecute the speaker. The speaker has a constitutional right to advocate, not incite, advocate, which is what President Trump did. And so going after the actors rather than the speaker is the way our Constitution laid it out.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Dershowitz, I sat at home watching this unfold. It was insane to see this. And, you know, to be honest, most of the people who did that, they're just plain old idiots. But at the end of the day, the Democrats are looking to impeach the president 11 days before. This is going to set more fireworks off in the Capitol, no?
Absolutely, and it's unconstitutional. I mean, you cannot impeach a president unless he's committed high crimes and misdemeanors, and these don't constitute high crimes and misdemeanors. They constitute constitutionally protected speech. You can condemn, you can attack, you can refuse to vote for, you can do all of those things which are politically available to you, but the one thing you can't do is use the law, which is impeachment, on something which is protected by the First Amendment. And the implications for the First Amendment, the implications for the Constitution are grave. They go beyond this week. They are forever. Used today against Trump, they will be weaponized and used against other presidents of both parties in the future to the detriment of our Constitution.
Right, but now here's the other thing, too. If they're going to use this against President Trump, what does that open up other legal actions for similar things to Ayanna Pressley, Maxine Waters, AOC, who have all openly called for people to basically have unrest in the streets? We have the video evidence.
The irony, of course.
Go ahead, sir.
The irony, of course, is that the members of Congress actually have more protection than the president. Members of Congress are protected by the speech and debate clause of the Constitution as well as the First Amendment. Vice President Pence is probably covered because he's the president of the Senate. But the president of the United States is not covered by the speech and debate clause, only by the First Amendment. But the First Amendment is more than enough to protect him and to protect all of us, because we would be the victims if the First Amendment was in any way compromised in the interests of political expediency and partisan advantage.
Right. Now, walk us through this process. They get 11 days. We know Congress doesn't do anything quickly. So how does this work? Does it get to the Senate? And is this just an effort to keep President Trump from running again in 2024, potentially?
It is. And what happens is the House can impeach in one day. They don't even have to have hearings. They should. They should give an opportunity for the defense to present its case, but they won't. They could literally vote on Monday or Tuesday to impeach and send the articles of impeachment over to the House. Now, in the House, you are entitled to put on a defense. But of course, who knows by that time who will be in control of the Senate? Will it be the current majority leader, or will it be Chuck Schumer? And if it's Chuck Schumer, he could expedite the process and give the defense only one day to defend itself. Again, that would violate due process. It would violate core beliefs and presumptions of innocence. But this is political, and it's become very partisan. The end result would be grave, grave damage to our Constitution. For what? To force a president out 5 days, 6 days, 3 days before a peaceful transition? This would be the opposite of a peaceful transition. Those who are calling for a peaceful transition should simply allow the president to finish his term. He doesn't want to come to the inauguration. That's his prerogative. I disagree with it. I wish he did go to the inauguration. But a peaceful transfer should occur on the 20th. And if we have an impeachment before that, it will be anything but a peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely crazy to me, and the very people screaming about process. This is what people are PO'd about in the beginning, which is they feel the process wasn't followed. And speaking of process, I want to go to Twitter and Facebook. Now, I put a tweet out this morning. They've both banned President Trump indefinitely. I put a tweet out this morning. I said, look, this is their house. This is their platform. You go on there and criticize them. Don't be surprised when they suspend you. However, President Trump didn't do that. As well, he did at certain points. But President Trump was suspended because they didn't like the fact that he had a platform to reach tens, if not hundreds of millions of people. Now, I get it. They're private companies. But are these monopolies, and are these widely now accepted as general means of communication? And that, therefore, should it not be allowed to turn off the President of the United States? Also, the 230s Act. Go through some of those things for us.
Yeah. Well, this is the most difficult question under the First Amendment in the 21st century. 230 basically exempts Twitter and other media, social media, from being held responsible for their content, the content that others put on, because they're supposed to just be a platform in which anything is allowed to go on. But once they become a publisher, once they decide, no, we don't like this president, we like the other president, then they lose their exemption under Section 230. And I think there will be congressional action to limit 230 to actual platforms. Now, Rumble is a platform that is now competing with YouTube. Yeah. It doesn't censor anything, and they're entitled to the 230 exemption. But anybody who censors selectively should lose their 230 exemption.
Right. Well, but now you have Parler, which I'm on, and Clout Hub, which I'm also on. Yeah. But Parler was told yesterday that Apple is going to take them off the App Store if they don't start censoring stuff that Apple deems dangerous.
Well, that would really raise questions under the monopoly provisions of the law. Once you start taking actions against others, whether they're competitors or not, then you really do run into these issues. And of course, as you know, numerous states and the federal government are suing several of these platforms for antitrust violations. So the next decade, we will see great changes in the way the law deals with these very large and very influential media platforms. They are different from the New York Times. They're different from the government. They're not quite anything. They don't fit into any previous categories. And the law has to adapt to the realities of social media having such a big impact on American political discourse.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that if you're a conservative, the answer to speech you don't agree with is more speech. If you're a liberal, they want to cancel all the speech.
No. If you're a liberal like me, you want to have more speech. If you're a radical, hard left person, you want to censor speech. But liberals and conservatives should agree that the marketplace of ideas is the way to deal with these issues.
Fair enough, sir. Alan Dershowitz, thank you for your insight this morning. We appreciate it.